Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and thank you so much for watching. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how I made this super cute, cozy little snowman, so let's get right into it. I'm starting out with two 7-inch cakes that I've leveled and cut in half, and I'm going to be filling those with some Swiss meringue buttercream. I'm using my small offset spatula to make sure my buttercream is nice and even. And then once my cake is stacked up, I'm going to be applying a thin layer of buttercream all around my cake to lock in those crumbs, and then that's going to go in the fridge for about 25 minutes to chill. Once you can touch your finger to the buttercream and none of it comes off, it's ready for the final ice. So I'm adding a big dollop of buttercream on top of my cake, and then using my small offset spatula and my turntable, I'm just smoothing that out until it's nice and level. Next, I'm applying a heavy-handed amount of buttercream to the sides of my cake, and then I'm going over that with my bench scraper to smooth that out. And for all the buttercream that accumulated on the top of the cake, I'm just pulling that into the center using my scraper, just making sure that I'm not going to mess up my nice level top. That is going back in the fridge to chill, and then I'm going to start on my fondant. I'm using some white marshmallow fondant that I made myself, and I will link the recipe down below. I'm rolling that out onto my cornstarch surface to about 1/8 of an inch thick. Once I have the right thickness, I'm picking that up with my fondant roller and then draping that over my chilled cake, just moving quickly with my hands and my fondant smoother to push all the air out from the top, and then just working my way down the sides, pulling out all those pleats in the skirt and just smoothing down until I reach the bottom. I went over the whole thing one more time with my fondant smoother, and then using my X-Acto knife, I just trimmed away the excess at the bottom. Since my cake is going to be 2 tiers, I have to add some supports. This cake is fairly small, so I'm just using some regular straws, but if you are making a larger cake or you need to transport your cake somewhere, you should use the wooden dowels or those larger bubble tea straws for the extra support. I'm adding a smear of buttercream on top of my bottom tier, and then with my cake lifter, I'm just placing the top on there and just making sure it's centered. The top of my snowman's head needs to be rounded for my cap. Normally I would not use fondant because I am so against having big, huge globs of fondant if you're going to be serving it to people. I like to use either Rice Krispies or a cake pop mixture, or you could just carve the cake to be rounded. In this case, I'm just using fondant because I didn't really have anything else. So I just made sure that the edges met with the very top of the cake, and then it was just domey shaped. I just shaped it with my hand. To create the knitted look, I'm using my little fondant extruder thingy, and I'm just rolling out these long snakes of some light blue fondant. I cut them down to the right size pieces, and then putting 2 side by side, I'm twisting them together, and I'm twisting one piece clockwise and the other piece counterclockwise, and when you place them next to each other, it creates a knitted look. I added it to the top of my cap, just covering that fondant. I definitely did not have the patience to make these look perfect. Mine looked like a rustic type of knit design, but I will link a video below of somebody else who did this, who I watched to get this technique, and they did a way better job than I did, so you should definitely check that video out. Don't worry about any of that brown peeking out in the bottom because that will be covered. And then using some gray fondant, I added a ball right on top for like the pom-pom, and then using my fondant tool, I just marked in some texture. Next, for the rim of the toque, I added some shortening all around the seam there, and then placed a thicker piece of gray fondant just going along that, and then again just using my fondant tool marking in some texture. The face is super easy to make. I just marked in where I want the eyes to sit, and then I added 2 larger balls of black fondant. I ended up flattening one side against my countertop just so it sat more snugly against the cake. So I did 2 large ones for the eyes and then 5 smaller ones to create the mouth. For his little carrot nose, I rolled out this triangle of orange fondant and I put a skewer through that, and then with another piece of skewer I just marked in a couple lines to make it look a little more carroty. I pressed that in between his mouth and his eyes, and his face was done. To create his scarf, I rolled out a long strip of my light blue fondant and then wrapped that strip, just covering where the seam, where the bottom tier meets the top tier. I brushed the entire thing with some shortening. Excuse, it looks a little bit dirty, but my brush just had a little bit of brown food coloring on it, so don't worry about that. And then I rolled out more of my knitted design and just alternated with 4 pieces of blue and 4 pieces of the gray, and I just let the pieces hang over and then I trimmed those later. So once I laid all the pieces down, I just went back in with my X-Acto knife and just trimmed the top and the bottom. To create my buttons, I rolled out some light blue fondant and then used a piping tip to cut out 3 circles. I grabbed my balling tool and then just created a divot in the center of each one and just smoothed that out with my finger. And then with another of my fondant tools, I just marked in the 2 little buttonholes. For the mittens, I rolled out a teardrop shape and then just flattened that against my work surface. And then using my X-Acto knife, I cut out where the thumb would be and then just tried to round out those edges as much as I could. And then I blunted the bottom as well. I added the buttons to the front of my cake using a little bit of shortening to attach them, and then I put the mittens on either side of those. For the arms, I grabbed some light blue fondant and rolled 2 thicker ropes of those and just smushed those against my counter, and then I attached those to either side using some shortening. You could most certainly create some sticks using some brown fondant if you want to be a little more authentic, but I liked the way that it looked. I thought it looked super cozy and cute. And as a final step, I just rolled out 2 pieces of white fondant and placed those over the seam where the mitten meets the arm. And that's pretty much it, guys. This is what it looked like when it was all done. Please let me know if you have any other Christmas requests down below. You can check out the other videos I have on my channel that are Christmas themed. I will link those in the description box. And I will see you in the next one.